Joe Carr unconsciously took off her coat, and at that moment, I suddenly held a gun to her back. Actor, yo, I think you forgot where you are. If you want to move into my house, you need to prove that you pose no threat to me. It was only then that Joker realized that there was a man beside her. Immediately, she spoke in a coquettish, low voice. What else do you want me to do? I hope you're not hiding any weapons on you. We're in the same boat now, so it's better to be honest and straightforward with me. Jo Karen is also a smart person. She knows what is meant by equal exchange in this doomsday. You must always remember that living in my house is a favor I have granted you, which shows that you still have some value to me. Therefore, you must obey all of my commands unconditionally. If I ever catch you doing anything suspicious, I won't hesitate to eliminate you. Jo Carr thought to herself, this guy is so heartless, but she also understood the interest behind it, so she could only nod obediently, like a good girl. I'm pointing to the innermost bedroom. That's where you'll be staying. But just so you know, the room is under 24/7 surveillance, so you won't have any privacy while you're here. Only I can open the door to the room, so you'll need to ask me for permission every time you enter or leave. Feel free to share your opinions, but I won't be taking any of them into consideration. If you find this distracting, you are welcome to leave now. Jo Carr doesn't want to leave. The outside world is like hell, while this room is like heaven. She nodded repeatedly and said, I'll listen to you for everything. I am very pleased with Jo Carr's compliant attitude. It's comfortable to communicate with intelligent women. If it were Fan Yiqing, the materialistic woman, she would probably be throwing a tantrum on the ground by now. I played with Jo Carr's long hair and gently told her, you must understand that right now, you have no choice but to rely on me. You know what kind of hell is out there, so you have no other option. So I am going to tell you a secret. Then I casually said to her, as you can see, I have taken care of all those who tried to break into my safe house. The most direct cause of this snow disaster, which you probably have heard about in the news, is the gamma ray burst caused by a supernova explosion. It is this radiation that has caused some people to mutate, and because of that, I have also gained a superpower, which is that I have acquired a separate space from others. After speaking, I casually pulled out a bread from another dimension, and Jo Carr looked absolutely incredulous. I casually tossed her the bread and continued, the reason I can live so carefreely right now is because I have a large amount of resources stored in my secret space. Only if I am alive can you enjoy endless resources with me. If I die, all the resources in the other dimension will also disappear. This house will soon be no different from other houses, and you will eventually starve to death. Although I know Jo Carr's nature is good, the me who has lived through many lifetimes is no longer the simple person I was back then. Jo Carr looked at me as I magically conjured a loaf of bread. She was too busy devouring it with tears of gratitude to be amazed or skeptical. In the past, she used to scorn fast food, but now she found the taste so delicious that it brought tears to her eyes. After eating, I casually handed her a winter coat. Are you full? If you are, it's time to start working. Jo Carr quickly put on her clothes and curiously asked me what was happening. Then I gestured for her to follow me out onto the balcony and pointed at the row of people next door frowning into ice sculptures. I said, smash them for me. I want to let everyone in this building know that I, Zhang Yi, am not someone to mess with. Jo Carr was speechless. Get rid of Chen Zhenghao. This matter seems to be from beginning to end this she's dealing with. Now Chen Zhenghao is dead. Actually want me to a girl to do so. You this is also too wimpy, right? Jo Carr whining. I curled my lip. Just letting them freeze to death is too kind to them. Besides, the neighbors in this building think I'm just a scaredy cat who hides at home, so I need to do something to prove that I, Zhang Yi, am not a good person. The most important thing is to make sure our neighbors understand clearly that I will retaliate if they dare to target our property again. So, to maintain our unbreakable alliance, it's time for you to step up. And remember, it's not being cowardly, it's being prudent. Jo Carr hesitantly took the baseball bat and walked over to the balcony. Without hesitation, she fiercely started smashing the body. Being a top medical student, she seemed to have little aversion to the corpse, especially since it had already merged with ice. The body instantly shattered like ice. Jo Carr exclaimed really hard on this ice and asked me why I wanted to record a video. I said I want to let the whole building know that I am a ruthless person. Jo Carr was speechless. From the angle of the video, that ruthless person is obviously me. I quickly uploaded the video to the residents group, and the neighbors all praised the great job. Chen Zhenghao and his gang have done all kinds of evil deeds. Many neighbors hate them to the bone, as many people's loved ones were killed by Chen Zhenghao. Right after that, I sent a voice message in the group. I've already gotten rid of Chen Zhenghao, so from now on, I'm the one in charge of this building. When the neighbors saw me in the group, they immediately started begging me. Jo Carr was snuggled up next to me like a cat, looking at the messages in the group with interest. Someone in the group said, Zhang Yi, can you give me some food? I'm willing to do anything for you. At that moment, a phone call suddenly came. I couldn't help but feel shocked that she wasn't dead yet. Jo Carr next to me sensed a hint of danger, and immediately hugged my arm tighter. I could hear Fan Yiqing crying and saying in a sobbing voice, "Now that Chen Zhenghao has passed away, can I move in? You promised to marry me, didn't you? And remember, I don't allow you to be with other women. You belong only to me." Upon hearing this, I coldly replied, "Why aren't you dead yet?" Fan Yiqing suddenly realized that Johnny thought I was dead, so he got together with that vixen. Joe Kr. It must be like this. Now that he knows I'm alive, he will definitely kick her out. Right. Fan Yiqing was so excited that tears filled her eyes. "I'm still alive. Come and take me away. I am the one who loves you the most." It was at this moment, Joe Kr on the side is feeling even more anxious now. She secretly made up her mind to show her within the future and hold on to my thigh tightly. But at this moment, I had an even more wicked idea. I sent intimate photos of myself and Joe Kr. Fan Yiqing saw this. The last hope in her heart instantly broke. She stared dead at my message. "You're a good girl. It's just that I've met a more suitable person now. You'll wish us happiness, right?" Seeing how close I was with Zhou Caron, Fan Yiqing's jealousy was instantly ignited. She knew she had lost completely, and she despairingly shouted at her phone, "That Zhou Car is definitely not sincere to you. Give me a chance, Zhang Yi. I will prove that we are meant to be together." I coldly replied, "Zhou Kr and I are true love. What do you have that can compare to her? Go away." Fan Yichang is still not willing to believe. "Zhang Yi originally licked her like a dog for 3 years. I am now pursuing you in turn. How can you say change of heart?" At this moment, she blamed all the anger on Zhou Car. "This vixen, why do you want to steal my man?" Her best friend, Lane Kane, stood by and mocked. "You self-centered materialistic woman. Everything that happened today is your own fault. I think the vibe is about right now. It's time to block her. Anyway, she probably won't live much longer." Immediately, I put down my phone and held Zhou Car's hand. Looking into her eyes, I softly asked, "Am I being a little heartless like this?" Zhou Car's cheeks turned slightly red. Appa must have his own reasons for doing so. "I believe in you." Zhou Car quickly finished preparing the meal, but I was too busy playing on my phone. "Since you made the meal yourself, you have to taste everything first." While holding her food, Zhou Karen silently complained to herself, "This guy still has his guard up against me. Is he afraid that I will poison him?" Just then, I suddenly saw a familiar face in the homeowners group. The over-the-top Lin auntie, who used to show off like crazy, is still alive? What a miracle. She was seen bragging in the group chat, claiming she has connections in the government and that the snow disaster will soon be over. She said everyone in the building should listen to her and hand over all the food, or they will be executed after the disaster. But no one paid any attention to her in the group. I was talking to myself and said, "Didn't Chen Zhenghao take away all her supplies?" Zhou Karen lowered her head in contemplation. When I went to check on her grandson's injury, I felt sorry for them and gave them some of my own resources. I gave her a strange look. There is such a thing. Zhou Kar was afraid that I suspected her of being overflowing with a motherly heart, and hurriedly explained, "At that time, I thought that my supplies were enough to last until the end of the snowstorm, and now I don't have that kind of thinking anymore." I poured a glass of Lafite for her, and I said, "I didn't mean that. What I meant was, her supplies should have run out a long time ago. How is she still alive?" Zhou Kuer had a terrified expression on her face. Her grandson did not receive timely treatment, and he passed away a week ago. I nodded thoughtfully. Looks like Aunt Lin has really taken it this far. In the past, she used to say that her grandson is the apple of her eye, as she wanted to keep him close, and now she's actually done it. Suddenly I heard a shout from behind me. When I turned around, I saw a man from the opposite unit leaping down from a high building, shouting Ultraman Dino transformation as he fell. It seems like the snow disaster has made him lose hope and mentally unstable. Seeing this, I can help but sigh. Humans are so fragile in the face of natural disasters. We should cherish every day we're alive. Zhou Kar nodded repeatedly, and the image of B in her mind was elevated once again. Suddenly, there was a call, and it turned out to be Uncle Yu. According to my past life memories, in this life, I'll only trust two people: Zhou Kar and Uncle Yu. They both sacrificed themselves for others in the past life, truly upholding the bottom line of humanity. Uncle Yu chose to trust my advice back then. Stocked up on a lot of instant noodles and ham sausages, their supplies are still quite abundant now. But this time, he just awkwardly smiled and greeted me. I thought to myself that if there was a shortage of resources, I could give him some. After all, he is a veteran and he might need them in the future. But in the end, Uncle Yu stuttered and said that Chilaime's daughter has a fever of 45 degrees. Her mom and I are very worried. Do you still have any medicine? When I heard this, my eyes widened in disbelief. Zilime really has a sharp eye. Out of all the men in this building, she managed to pinpoint Uncle Yu as her rebound guy. You should know that among the whole building, Uncle Yu's supplies are second only to mine. This woman lived longer than me in her past life, and now in this life, she has managed to successfully flirt with Uncle Yu. That poor guy. Zilime is definitely not as innocent as she appears on the surface. So it turns out, It was Uncle Yu who has been helping the mother and son. Listening to Uncle Yu's earnest plea, I carefully weighed it in my heart. First of all, Uncle Yu is a veteran who is not only honest and reliable, but also physically strong. He's a rare fighter and maybe even able to take a bullet for us in the future. Secondly, Uncle Yu is a kind and simple man who has not forgotten his original intentions even in the end of the world. His shining humanity has deeply moved me, and I can't bear to let it dissipate in this apocalyptic world. Just be cautious of this woman named Zili Mei. She may seem innocent and helpless, but her true intentions are not so simple. Even though she has had children, her appearance is still attractive and alluring. Poor old Yu, who has been single for 40 years, may not be able to resist her charms. I congratulated Uncle Yu over the phone, and he responded somewhat shyly, saying it's just about getting along in daily life. He even mentioned that with his current situation, he wouldn't have been able to find a partner if it weren't for the snow disaster. I told Uncle Yu that I only have a few boxes of fever medicine left, but you can come over and take one. Upon hearing this, Uncle Yu became so excited that he couldn't speak. He offered me one of the few boxes he had left, and I couldn't help but feel grateful for his kindness. Actually, I stockpiled a lot of medicine in my alternate space, but with my design, I estimate that Uncle Yu will be more than willing to work for me in the future. Sure thing. Here's the translation. Indeed, Uncle Yu, after calming down, resolutely swore, I, Yu Hongbong, swear here that, as long as you, Zhang Yi, can make use of me, I will not hesitate even if I have to go through fire and water. As I performed these actions, nearby Zhou Kuer couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. She was surprised to discover that beneath my calm and composed exterior, I had such a deep and cunning mind. She then handed me a glass of love fight and curiously asked, "Is Mr. Yu really reliable?" I drank it all in one sip and calmly said, "In this chaotic world, everyone seeks profit, which becomes even more crucial in the apocalypse. Doing small favors for kind-hearted individuals brings endless benefits with no harm." After a while, there was a knock on the door, and I could hear Uncle Yu's voice. I habitually glanced at the monitor and saw that the woman holding the child is probably Sherry. I wonder why she is here too. I took out the medicine, threw it out of the window, and told them to quickly go back and give the medicine to the child. A child this young can't afford to delay having a fever. Uncle Yu was grateful as he picked up the medicine, and then Shirley suddenly came over. With a tearful voice, she pleaded, "Brother Zhang Yi, can you do me a favor? My baby is sick and I'm worried. He won't survive the severe cold. Can we stay here for a while? Your house has a fireplace and plenty of rooms." Uncle Yu seemed a bit embarrassed and fronzy for a moment. Sherry didn't mention this when she came. I think this woman is really scheming. She's trying to gain sympathy by using her child and taking advantage of the situation for her own benefit. There's no way I'm going to go along with her. I'm sorry, my fireplace is running out of fuel, so there's no point in you coming in now. Uncle Yu also advised on the side, Zhang Yi has already been very loyal. Let's not go too far. But at this moment, Zili Mei started crying, saying to Yudashu loudly, "The baby is still very fragile. You didn't give birth to him, so of course you wouldn't feel sorry for him." Then she turned her head to the door and cried, "This little baby is now too poor. I am also desperate. Sister also knows that you're kind-hearted, so I have the cheek to mention this request. I promised to come in and listen to you in everything." I leaned against the door and said faintly, "This small request, if before the end of the day, I might have agreed to you guys without hesitation. But as you know, a few days ago, the whole building's neighbors came to forcefully attack my house, which has already created a psychological shadow on me. And now I don't have the guts to let any strangers in the door at all. So I hope you guys will understand." Uncle Yu also excitedly said to Sherry, "Zhang Yi has already been very loyal. This antipyretic medicine is now worth at least a few million. Let's not push our luck." Sherry firmly but pitifully argued back at Uncle Yu. "If they can let Dr. Zhou move in, why can't we?" I sneered at his words. "Zhou Karen is my girlfriend, so of course I want her to live with me." Zhou Kuer, who was standing beside, heard this sentence and felt a ripple in her heart, although she understood that this was just an excuse for me to deceive them. Hearing Zhang Yi announce his identity in person, even though she knew he might not be sincere, still brought an indescribable sweetness to her heart. Uncle Yu stood there awkwardly. Before coming here, Zili Mei had intentionally not communicated with Uncle Yu. Seeing Zhang Yi in a difficult position, Uncle Yu's tone towards Zili Mei also became harsher. "Enough is enough. Don't embarrass him." Seeing Uncle Yu's slightly angry expression, Shirley instantly put on a pitiful face. She frowned and looked at the baby, saying, "Do you think I wanted to be like this? I'm just worried about the baby." As I watched them leave, I couldn't help but be amazed at Sherry's skills. It seems that if I want to use Uncle Yu's words in the future, I'll have to deal with this woman first. They returned to the room, and Uncle Yu and Sherry began to argue. "Why did you make decisions without consulting me first? If it weren't for my brother, Zhang Yu, reminding me, I wouldn't have stocked up on so much instant noodles and wouldn't have made it this far. We should always remember to repay kindness." Zili Mei suddenly leaned gently on Uncle Yu's shoulder. Actually, you don't need to be so grateful to him. I don't think he particularly trusts you either. If he really thought you were trustworthy, he should have let us in for a chat and a cup of tea just now. As soon as you said that, Uncle Yu became angry. That was a bit too much. John Yi gave you such precious medicine. How could you make it seem worthless? Surely still doesn't give up. Maybe he's intentionally giving you small favors to make you grateful and in the end, make you work hard for him. After all, he killed many neighbors that day, and his methods were extremely cruel. It's just not something a kind-hearted person would do. Plus their house has so many rooms. Uncle Yu stood up angrily and roared, "Enough! Do you really think I'm a fool, Yu Guang? I don't need you to teach me how to distinguish between good and bad people." Sherry knew that Uncle Yu was really angry, and she realized that it was time to change her approach. She quickly put on a gentle and tearful face and said, "I was thinking too much. I only did it for your own good. It's always good to be a little more cautious in times like this." Right. Uncle Yu stormed out of the room angrily, but Shirley still didn't give up. After all, that 28-degree house was her dream place. She secretly made up her mind that no matter what the cost, she must move into the warm and secure house. At night, there was a deafening noise coming from the neighborhood suddenly. I quickly checked the surveillance footage, and it turned out to be construction workers from the adjacent unit. I wonder how they got here. They even had explosives. Just now, they dug a big hole in the already snow-covered ground floor, and a few burly men with shovels emerged from the snow tunnel. Nowadays, the heavy snow has already covered up to 5-story buildings, and nobody ever expected them to appear here in this way. The man who was about to collect snow water saw the unfriendly visitors and immediately turned to escape, but he was caught up by them after a few steps. One man knocked him down with a shovel, leaving him in a pool of blood. The leader then ordered his underling to bring him back for later use when they return, indicating that they have a more important purpose for this trip. 2 minutes later, they walked up to the 24th floor, only to realize that their target was my house. A group of menacing individuals then arrived at my doorstep. With just a command from the leader, a burly man wearing a gray hat emerged from the crowd. He crouched down, took out a detonator from his backpack, lit the fuse, then turned around and sprinted towards the end of the corridor, immediately following a deafening sound that reverberated through the entire neighborhood. I was startled awake. I quickly grabbed my gun and checked the status of the house's security system on my phone. Luckily, everything is fine. I only found out through the surveillance that these people are actually strangers. Looking at the various weapons, they are holding shovels, steel bars, and axes. They must be the construction workers of Building 26. They are tall and strong, with formidable combat abilities. After the smoke cleared, they quickly returned to the door to check the results of the explosion. Clearly, they had done their homework beforehand. In the next second, they were dumbfounded as the door remained undamaged, except for some black smudges. "Hey buddy, what's wrong with you? You have no power at all." The man with the gray cap on his face looked incredulous. "This detonator of mine can blast granite rocks. Is it damp or what? Even if it didn't blow open his alley door, the floor tiles shouldn't be completely undamaged." I got instantly furious when I heard the commotion outside the door. "I think our family situation has been gossiped by the neighbors to the next building. Since you are here to kill me, I won't be polite." I lit a Molotov cocktail and threw it out. Just a Molotov cocktail is not enough to vent my anger. Next, I took out a few small white bottles from another dimension. It's white phosphorus dissolved in sulfur dioxide. Basically the simplest form of an incendiary white phosphorus bomb. The temperature of white phosphorus combustion can instantly exceed 1000 degrees Celsius. The whole corridor turned into a sea of flames in an instant due to the explosive power of the Molotov cocktail, with only 5 or 6 people managing to escape out of over a down scene. But this also sounded an alarm for me. I thought to myself, if these workers used more professional blasting techniques, my safe house might not be able to withstand it. They might even be able to blow up the entire building. Not everyone can survive in this kind of doomsday scenario with such organization. They must be bringing back more explosives. Looks like I need to figure out a way to get some firearms. I never thought my neighbors would resort to using explosives. If a professional carrying a large amount of explosives shows up one day, the whole building might be blown up. But now the top priority is to deal with this group of construction workers. I quickly arrived in Zhou Kuo's room and found her curled up in the corner, sobbing softly. It was obvious that she had been frightened by the noise just now. Seeing her pitiful look, my protective instinct instantly surged, and I comforted her by saying, "Don't be afraid, I'm here for you." After recovering, Zhou Kuo grabbed my hand and asked me what had happened just now. I sat her day with her at the end of the bed and talked for 2.5 hours, telling Zhou Caron what had just happened. The construction workers of Building 26 did it. There is a construction project nearby, and many workers are renting in our community. Shoker doesn't understand why they would rent here, since our community is considered a middle to high-end one. I said it wouldn't be expensive for 100 people to live in a house together. Joe Karen looked serious and said they would be much more dangerous than Chen Jianhao if that's the case. I agree with what was said. In the end, Chen Jianhao is just a gangster with some brains. Without the gun in his hand, who knows where he would have died. These construction workers are completely different. They are used to physical work with much greater strength and endurance than the average person. Besides, they all know each other well, so they are definitely more united than others. I couldn't help but take a deep breath when I thought of it. Luckily, I got rid of that guy who played with explosives. Otherwise, if it had brought a more powerful detonator, I would have been in danger. Suddenly, Zhou Kuo leaned over and asked, "Would you seek revenge on them?" I, Zhang Yi, always avenge my grudges, but I cannot personally go and duel with them. Even though I have plenty of weapons and could wipe them all out, it's not worth it if I accidentally get hit by a shovel. Zhou Kuo rolled her eyes and said, "You're playing it way too safe. Things have come to this. It looks like I have to recruit some subordinates as cannon fodder." I immediately opened the homeowners group chat. A loud bang just startled almost everyone in the building awake. The group chat was already buzzing, with some saying it's an earthquake, others saying a meteorite has fallen. I calmly replied, it was the group from Building 26 who tried to blow up my house earlier. I took out most of them. Zhang Man, who lives on the 10th floor with a center part, has been killed. They were coming through the tunnel under the snow. Upon hearing this, everyone in the neighborhood is feeling threatened. Those laborers across the street are all desperados. Most young and strong individuals in our building have already perished, leaving only the elderly, weak, women, and children. We have no way to oppose them, but thankfully, we have Zhang Yi. With you around, our building feels much safer. You're our hero now. Instead, I poured a basin of cold water on it. My weapon was exhausted, and now I'm living on a shoestring. You guys are on your own. Good luck. Uncle, you called me just now. Zhang Yi, are you okay? I know the contractor Huan Tia in Building 26. We have some acquaintance. He has thousands of workers under him. The other day, Huan Tia instructed his men to harm many people, and now they're targeting your home. If you need, I can teach them a lesson. When I said that, suddenly I had an idea. Since Uncle Yu knows about the other side situation, please tell me their formation. So I told Uncle Yu that in order to confront the outlaws in Building 26, we must unite all the neighbors in the building to stand together. After all, my own fortress that I rely on is indestructible, so for safety reasons, I definitely won't leave the house. Uncle Yu wants to rally everyone in the group to resist, but I immediately shut down his idea. Instead of actively trying to win them over, make them feel like you have ulterior motives, it's better to let them seek protection voluntarily. Anyway, we have enough supplies. The guys from Tian'er will definitely come back for revenge, and by then, the neighbors will naturally come to us for help. I asked Zhou Kuo and Uncle Yu to gather information in the neighborhood and find out who in all 30 buildings might still pose a threat to me. One of them is a security guard and the other is a doctor. They both have a wide network. It turns out that doctors are indeed efficient, and they gathered a lot of information in less than half a day. Zhou Kuo put on her work clothes and introduced to me very professionally, saying that the most challenging task at the moment is dealing with the Tian'er gang from Building 26 next door. They are a construction team under Tian'er, very strong and united. Last time they attacked my home, I killed 8 of them in self-defense. A few others died from burns and freezing. Nah, there are only over 20 of them left. Another threat is from Building 21, a gang known as the Dinosaur Gang, with a name that clearly shows how cheesy they are. They are mainly young people, all strong and energetic, with considerable combat capabilities. Currently, there are about a dozen of them. The 2 leaders are Wang Qiang and Xiao Lu, and there are few survivors left in the remaining apartment buildings, posing almost no threat. In the past 2 days, the boss of the Tian'er gang, Huan Tianfang, made bold statements, swearing to avenge his fallen brothers by wiping out Zhang Yi from Building 25. Although they hate me to the core, they are also afraid of me, knowing that my home is easy to defend and hard to attack. They decided to target my neighbors in the same unit. They even threatened, if you don't come out, I will kill all your beloved neighbors and see how you live with that guilt. Upon hearing that, I burst into laughter. They think I am the saintly protagonist in a movie. Little do they know that I'm totally fine with that. I wanted them to kill more of their neighbors, so the neighbors would beg me to take action. As expected, just 2 days later, the neighbors couldn't stand it anymore. They praised me as a hero yesterday, but today, they are back in the group chat cursing me, blaming me for everything. Why should innocent neighbors bear the consequences? I coldly replied in the group, they attacked me. I was just defending myself. You guys couldn't resist them. So what does it have to do with me? Since those people are so dangerous, I'm definitely not going out to confront them. The neighbors have started moral blackmail again. It was you who provoked them. So why is it that we have to bear the consequences and protect you? Don't you feel guilty about the neighbors who died when you caused the trouble? You were hiding safely at home now. Upon hearing this, I replied fiercely, saying, whether you live or die has nothing to do with me. Don't talk to me about conscience. You were not lenient when attacking my family. In the end, I threatened them, but you don't actually believe that I wouldn't dare to harm you, right? The neighbors just realized that Zhang Yi is also a tough guy after all, since Chen Zhenghao was defeated by him. Wealthy second-generation Su Hao looked despairingly out the window. He thought he could survive if Chen Zhenghao died, but the people from the Tianhe were even more ruthless. The snow disaster shows no sign of stopping. Am I going to die here? I think the atmosphere has been set up well enough. I'll call Uncle Yu now, and then it's your turn to take action. Uncle Yu suddenly spoke in the group. Don't be afraid. There are only about 20 people in Tianhe, while we have over 50 people in Building 25. If we unite, we don't have to fear them at all. At that moment, the neighbor seemed to suddenly see hope. After all, retired veteran Uncle Yu always gives people a feeling of being dependable and reliable. Uncle Yu mentioned that he has run out of supplies, and the best plan now is to ask Zhang Yi to lead us in the fight against the Tianhe. Otherwise, we're doomed. The neighbors were speechless, as they had just chased Zhang Yi away, and he had angrily uttered words that everyone should fend for themselves. Uncle Yu said, he can still try to talk to Zhang Yi. I will try to talk to him and see if I can persuade him. At the moment, all the neighbors are pinning their hopes on Uncle Yu. Uncle Yu sent me a private message. What do I do next? I think the time is about right. One of us will play the bad guy, and the other will play the good guy. We'll use both carrot and stick to make these neighbors obediently listen to me. I think even if these people can't beat the Tianhe, they can at least make some people willingly become cannon fodder. I immediately sent a voice message in the homeowners group, and I think, out of respect for Uncle Yu, we can chat about it. At this time, the neighbors, as if they had grabbed a life preserver. A time of good words are not worth the money, surged over. Did not expect Zhang Yi brothers' pattern is so big, but also said that as long as you are willing to help, you told me to do what we do what. I chuckled softly and responded, well then, I dare you to grab your weapons and fight against the people from the Tianhe. Are you up for it? The group fell silent at my words, and I continued speaking. So you want me to rush in and fight alone, while you all just stand back and watch? Well, you might as well stick your necks out and wait for them to come chop it off. Goodbye. At this point, Uncle Yu really started showing off his acting skills. Come on, we will all listen to you. Anyway, it's either life or death. Taking a chance might give us a shot at survival. At the same time, he shouted at the neighbors, what are you waiting for? It will be too late when the knife is at your neck. As we sang together, our neighbors agreed to follow my command, and I gained control over the entire building. I then calmly told the group that everyone in the building must now listen to me, and that no one should try to take advantage of the situation by staying at home. No one is allowed to be lazy and negative. If someone refuses to contribute, I will get rid of them. However, I also want to remind everyone that as long as you obey me, I will make sure you won't go hungry. I am going out to search for supplies for everyone. As soon as these words were spoken, the group exploded with excitement. It's hard to believe that everyone treated you like that at the beginning, yet you are so forgiving. The outside world is extremely dangerous, with icy and snowy conditions, making some neighbors even choke up with shame. I know that with this move, I've already easily gained control over the neighbors. Going out to look for supplies will achieve multiple goals at once. Firstly, I can firmly control the lives and deaths of my neighbors, so they will not dare to harm me. After all, if something happened to me, they wouldn't have anyone to look for supplies. The second point is, I live on the 24th floor. Although the building is made of steel, if a collapse occurs downstairs, it would still be difficult for me to escape unharmed. So, I need to keep some cannon fodder as my subordinates, who can shield me from bullets if necessary. But it's essential to provide them with resources, and of course, weapons must be equipped. I still have several snowmobiles in my alternate space, plus my own winter clothes. It's not a problem to go out and look for supplies. Besides, I have been working in the storage industry for many years, so I know the warehouses in the city very well. Therefore, my first stop was at the police station.